Get it. Get it.
Film this shit.
Come on.
Film this
Come
shit.
Come on.
This is how we're starting the show. Come on, Jad.
You can do it.
You gotta want the bone. You ever see your mother chase the bone? It's more aggressive than that.
Oh, he does sometimes. He
It's always awkward when they're like this.
Sits on his blanket in the doorway and goes, really?
Well, the good news is this won't take long.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Episode 56 of It's Just Bodybuilding. Of course, Dusty Hanshaw here. Shaved within the last 48 hours with his pink shirt. And myself, Big Ron Partlow. And on today's show, we've got some fantastic Instagram questions for you and all the usual stuff we talk about on It's Just Bodybuilding.
Power of the It's Just Bodybuilding today.
I'm in a mood. So
I felt it.
How many hours of shadow is that on your face? Because for a normal man, that's like a week.
No, it's what day? What day is today? Monday?
Yeah.
So Saturday.
Yeah,
Saturday,
48
Sunday.
hours.
Yeah. Pretty solid.
Hours.
I feel like I'm clean. Well, I had to get a fresh shave because I got to go on Wednesday to see Courtney to line it all up professionally. So I need to make sure that, it takes 5 days for extreme growth for her to start working her magic.
So what's with the professional beard cut? Are you have an event or a photos you're taking, or what are you doing something like?
No, nothing. I just suck at it and tend to fuck it up a lot. So I go to her once a week to keep it right. Plus we have way too much fun. I'm surprised we haven't been thrown out of her place, even though it's hers. Because you're just not supposed to have off the wall conversations like we do. But hey, what are you gonna do?
Right. I thought maybe you had statistical information that you're more likely to pick up at the grocery store.
No, I just know that if I can get enough attention on the facial hair, they might ignore the rest.
They might ignore the actual face.
Smart,
there we go.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. So man, it's been a crazy weekend. We had a bodybuilding weekend.
Yeah.
We had I went, and by the way, I have to say this. I went and saw the dogs. They're smarter than me now. Just maybe they always were, but now I know. Yep. They won't actually walk through a door unless you tell them to.
Right. So you're gonna be losing them all over the house.
Fucking slam on the brakes. You're like, oh, you're welcome to join me. They're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So pretty drastic. I'm actually excited, but it's a lot of work now. Now I realize I got to practice. I was like, fuck, because everything's quick.
Yeah.
Now. So that was solid. Went up there, spent about 2 hours yesterday, being amazed. Donna I'm so proud of her. She kind of gave me a fuck you because she's mad at me. Like she wouldn't perform for me for like a good 10 minutes. She would perform for them. And I was like, come here, Donna. And she's like, no.
Right.
But she broke. I mean, it's typical. I disappoint women and eventually they break and come back. But
well, the perfect name for her.
Yeah, exactly. So it was solid. What'd you think about the California Pro?
Well, I thought Antoine deserved to win for sure.
Right.
I mean, you know how the lights were terrible?
Yeah, actually, training partner put up a post. I died. He said, I've seen better lighting at a haunted house.
Yes, I saw that. That was the best. So here's my take. The lights were terrible, and in terrible lighting, Antoine had the most ripped glutes.
And, I mean, his entire leg is
in his quads. Yeah, so like in terrible lighting, Antoine still looked sharper than everyone. So in reality, it was like probably a lot more than that. Because you know how lights are the great equalizer.
You know what's funny too is I've been on the opposite end of that and didn't realize it. In 2012, the worst I've ever looked in my life at a show. Right. I remember scouring the hotel for good lighting to send Chris pictures. And it wasn't until after the show and realizing that no light in the world was going to make me look good because I was not looking good.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
Yeah. JJ Marsh used to tell me, when you're in shape, you look sliced in the dark.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's pretty much what he had. Even the midsection, which was really washed, you could tell he was granite. And they did exactly what we talked about.
Yeah.
He got bigger. He ate. He was up like 7 or 8 pounds.
Yep. Yep. He was bigger, fuller, rounder. Yeah. So it's a Las Vegas Cali Pro.
Oh, I'm so confused why we don't just change the name. I'm assuming it's because they're already on the trophies.
Oh yeah, the T-shirts and hats are printed and all that stuff, right?
We got to leave it to Cali Pro, even though it's in Nevada. It's fine. I think you know what disappointed me or surprised me, and I mean I shouldn't say that, but I'd like your feedback on it. Why the fuck did nobody go? Like the lineup, it's a week, and I understand money, and I don't really understand money, but really, like barely anybody went.
Yeah, I mean, how many guys were in the show even?
I don't even know, but I know that. I mean, you can just run down the list of the top 5 in New York, aka Tampa, and none of them were there.
I'm just wondering how many total people
because what's his name who got 6th? Jeez, I can't remember. Where's my brain today? At Tampa took 4th. Patrick, yes.
Yeah.
He's the only one in the top 6. I mean, Maxx went, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Because Mustafa went, but did he actually compete or not after the whole hemorrhoid surgery?
Oh, fuck, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was crazy.
It's a lot of information on the internet. I hate when somebody says something like a description. Like if they say, like, don't think of a pink elephant, because now I immediately think of a pink elephant. So don't say, hey, I have these giant hemorrhoids, because my brain goes pink and I see them and I'm like, fuck.
So there were 16 guys.
Yes.
Yeah, there were 16 guys in the show.
But I mean, not from Tampa.
Yeah, not from Tampa. No, I know. I'm just wondering if, like, I don't know.
Like De La Rosa, how do you skip that? Because, I mean, I don't know for a fact, but I don't think it's a financial thing. So it's like, it's a week.
Right.
And you got 3rd. And it's, I'm not even, I guess what's interesting is I'm not even saying he would have beat Antoine. I'm just surprised he wouldn't want to go pick up that Olympia qualification. And I guess that's where things get sticky for me, is I'm purely business when I look at bodybuilding. So I could see saying I'm not going to waste $2,000 to go do the show. But if I'm chasing an Olympia qualification and I got 3rd.
Yeah. So didn't Maxx kind of insure himself an Olympia spot by going, because he got 2nd, he got more points, and I think
he's in there. Yeah.
Because if you go all the way back to January, I think.
Yeah. So if you combine all 4 shows from the year. Oops.
Yeah.
There haven't been many. No, but I think he's in.
So like that's what you're talking about. Like,
why not go?
He's working.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's going to go and get it done, and he knows that he can make improvements now before the Olympia. And let's be honest, if you shut it down now, like De La Rosa is saying he's done for the season then.
Right.
There's no way you skip a show a week later and then do Chicago. Why?
Right. Well, maybe that's his plan for some reason. I don't know.
We need to get John on the show. I'm going to text him.
Yeah, we do. Text him.
Yes. Sorry, guys. Get distracted. But yeah, no, Antoine looked good. Maxx looked good. I was happy to see Milos taking heat before the show even started. Like I saw guys actually going on his page and be like, so have you like rehearsed your bitching and moaning and the pictures you're going to put up after the show if your guy doesn't win? Like,
oh, were people doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah. And of course, Milos, I hate the way that people are completely able to just not own anything.
Right.
Like I would rather, like if that was me and I made the decision to do that, I would say, I think my guy was better, fuck off. Or I would say, I shouldn't have done that. My apologies. I'm not going to put up, a guy wrote that and he actually said, Ian should have been happy. I was posting more pictures of his moment winning. If you're going to do something, do it. Like, I hate that. Like, my respect for Milos went from like 5 to -5. It was already low.
Really?
Yeah, because you're not a man. Now I can forget about you as a bodybuilder because you're a weak human.
I wasn't paying enough attention. Obviously, I gotta go back and read.
I get a little fired up about this stuff just because, like I said, I mean, I think that in our world, it's sad when you say, well, he's an icon of the sport. I'm like, but he's a shit. Like, if that's how you act, then that tells me something, because we all make mistakes in the heat of the moment. And I've done some shit in life many, many times where I'm like, oh, I got to own that. Damn it.
Right.
Then you do when people say, you know what? We've all made mistakes. When you don't own it and you twist and turn, I'm kind of like, man, I quickly forgot you're a legend bodybuilder because now I know that you're a weak man. You know?
Wow. I got to go read some of this shit. I was upset with how things with Ian went after the last show.
But that's what we're talking about. That's why people were bringing it back up, because a lot of people saw the obvious and he never owned it. I
didn't look at tons of it. I just was aware there was some stuff going on, but I saw a few things that I didn't like. But I also felt like I didn't read, like, you know, I might have read 5% of what was going on, right? So I was just kind of more aware of it. But I remember thinking I thought it was really unnecessary and,
I think the big
unprofessional.
Man, is owning it. Like, for example, look at Chris. Chris is never afraid to say what he thinks.
Yep.
But he'll stand behind it and he'll own it. And that's it. And I think that that's the difference. Is I'm not saying you need to, like, you don't have to agree.
It is what it is. Yeah.
You can think those things, but it's also how you do it. I think, you know, and that's what a lot of people were frustrated with. Like, when you go post pictures and then you pretend that you're not, like Chris straight up said in so many words, Antoine needs to decide if he wants to be an internet bodybuilder or a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? He said that, and Antoine turned around and won a show in a week.
Yep.
Like, I dig that. You came out, and Antoine probably doesn't even know or doesn't care.
Right.
But what a beautiful thing. Like, he didn't skirt around what he thought.
Right.
This is what I think. You know, when you post pictures and don't just say, I think this is horse shit, it's weak.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. I mean, I'm having a soapbox moment, but just because I do think in our sport, we're losing the ability to keep in mind, yes, we can critique each other. That's our job. You know, I love critiquing the top 5 at a show, knowing I can't beat any of them, but I have the knowledge to do so. But I would have no issue standing there. And a prime example, Nick Walker at the LA Fit Expo this year. Yep. He came up to me and he said, man, can you believe I didn't win the USAs? And I said, yeah. And he's like, huh? I was like, yeah, you didn't win. I was in the 3rd row. You didn't slam the door. I said, you're a better bodybuilder. You didn't win the show.
Right.
Like, that, to me, we're allowed to do that. And guess what? Nick and I still have respect for each other. He might think I was dead ass wrong, but there's no secret behind it, you know?
Right. And then also, too, he also knows that, you know, he slammed the door this time.
Yeah. Done.
And so now you're into complete agreement with the reality of things.
Yeah. And just like I said, you are a better bodybuilder than him.
Yeah.
I've beaten many guys that I should never beat.
Same here.
You know, but it's on that day. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I just wish, I think as a whole, there's got to be that line. And I feel social media has kind of messed with a little bit, where we don't just critique physiques and just say it. Like, it's okay to say, you know, like, for example, when I'm looking at the top 5, I'm comparing them against each other. I'm comparing them against themselves when I'm speaking, but it's just about that moment.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I feel like sometimes it's getting lost. Like, I'm getting so tired of hearing things like, oh, guys don't have passion like they used to, or this, that, or the other. It's like, well, really, when's the last time in the 90s you saw lighting like you saw at this show? You know what I'm saying? Like, shit is different. So don't worry about what happened then, now, you know, personal life. Just tell me about the physiques on stage. Compare them. What do you see? What can they bring up? What can they not bring up? That's okay too, you know, to point out absolute weaknesses. But yeah, it was good to see some of the fans actually seeing, like, again, and I'm not even arguing true or false, just how you go about doing things, you know? Yeah. So I would love to see ownership, one side or the other, even if it's ownership saying fuck you,
Right.
At least you're manning up.
Don't try to tell me you're doing me a favor.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just putting pictures up of your moment winning. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. That's not what you were doing. You know, and that's why it's funny because I don't know Ian well. We've spoken a few times in person and on the shows, obviously. But what I like about Ian is a matter of fact person. Yeah. So I don't think his brain even functions on passive aggressive. Like it doesn't, because he's just like, you're an asshole. Like he would look at you and go, you're an asshole.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah, I know, and everyone seems to love it. Like, well, most people, anyways.
Yeah. Well, people who like real appreciate that. That's why I think, in the States, like East Coast people are known to just, this is it. And people like me love that. I'm like, don't skirt around. I respect someone who looks me in the face and goes, I don't like you. I'm like, you don't have to.
Yeah, I would appreciate that too, because it saves your energy from ever really, in a way, I'm like, oh, thanks. I don't have to give you any energy at all now.
Well, sometimes I agree. I'm like, I probably wouldn't either. God.
Yeah.
Way too much.
Yeah.
So the show was great. And I would like to see, I am hoping, Chad Nichols actually put up a post or a response to a post that I read last night that was amazing. He said, the difference is in the early 2000s and the 90s with lighting, their only concern was the athlete and lighting up the athlete. Yeah. Now it's lighting up the stage. Now it's making sure that the sponsors are getting their love. And same thing, like at the Ironman back in the day, the backdrop was black.
Yeah.
And then
the best ever.
The stage was the stage at night, but you didn't have Mutant and Redcon 1 and all these posters behind everybody changing the lighting or a TV screen. And it looks good for the fans, but it hurts the athlete because they're making sure that the entire stage looks pretty as opposed to saying, fuck the stage. Where's the top 5 going to be? Okay, we need to light that up. You know? So I think that's another factor that is a little disappointing because it's sad now that, like, you remember a couple of years ago when Chad Nichols had the show where the lighting was crazy? It looked like it was kind of from down below.
Yeah.
It's sad to me that we're talking about a professional event and we get excited when the lighting is good.
Yeah.
Shouldn't it always be good?
Yeah.
Like you go to a baseball game, they're like, holy shit, the ball is round today. We've always liked it when they use a round ball.
I remember one time I was at a show and it was like a lower level show and entry level. And I remember it was at like the athlete meeting or something, and I had like clients in the show. Mm-hmm. And I remember they were adjusting the lights. Like they were getting ready for the next day, right? And they had like checking the switches, like, okay, that's those lights, and that's all, they're doing all the bullshit, right? Mm-hmm. Making sure they know what they want on. Mm-hmm. And I just had a sneaking suspicion that no one really knew what they were doing.
Right.
And I was like, oh, fuck. And I had clients in the show. And I was like, well, fuck, this isn't any of my business. I'm not from here. This isn't my show. I don't even know the promoter personally.
Yeah.
But so I just started talking to the one guy. I was like, hey, do you, I think I could get an athlete out here for you to actually pose and we could make sure the lights are perfect. And he was like, oh, because like they seemed a little confused. And I was like, I don't think you want those lights on. I think you just want these on.
Out. Yeah.
And and I felt funny because I felt like I was kind of stepping in someone else's business. But then I had my one guy come out. I was like, hey, strip down real quick. And he didn't mind. He was like, he knew he looked good.
He looked good. It's like, any chance to strip down.
So he's fucking strips down and runs out and he hits back double. And I made him hit an ab thigh and they like turned a set of lights off and stuff. It was funny. I helped out with the lights.
You saved the show.
Well, not totally, because I there were some other things I didn't think were great, but I didn't want to like say too much, so I left some stuff.
You went as far as you thought you should,
just to make sure the back double by looked pretty good,
Well, that's the shot he needs to win, so we need to make sure it's lit up. No,
I didn't do the side to side.
Like, think about it. Like, as an athlete, when you leave a show, at any level, to be honest with you, what are the things you want? Your pictures and your trophy.
That's why I also tell people when they're doing their first shows and they're getting their feet wet and they're, getting into it, I'm like, listen, for posing routine, make sure you hold each pose for at least a 3 count.
Yeah.
Don't worry about stuffing 25 poses into your minute. Put 12 good poses into your minute, hold them properly, and then you'll get good photos back.
Yep.
Because I've had lots of photographers tell me that, the people that, and another thing they hate actually is when people move around the stage a bunch.
Yeah, because the flower's in the middle.
Yeah, like the X is in the middle. So when you come out and you do like the kind of like the old school, like pretend you're on a podium and just do the whole thing right on the X.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You'll get a whole bunch of great pictures back. So I tell everyone that.
Yeah, no, it's totally true though, because I think those are the things you look back on. In fact, posted a picture after he took third at the Cal, and he took a picture of the trophy. And I love Tamer and Muscle Contest because they still do, even at the USAs and stuff. Like your trophies are huge and they're nice big trophies. Like I don't keep trophies in my house. My mom has them all. I think I got like 5 in one of the rooms, but just because I haven't taken them over there. But in the moment, I want it to be cool. Because it's like, this is what I won kind of deal.
Yeah.
And it's funny because even those have downgraded. Like now it's like a medal, or it's like now they do the half trophy. That's literally like a flat back.
Right. I'm waiting for the ribbon.
So we're making more money than ever. And we're chintzing on the top 5 more than ever.
Yeah.
Why? But then, so the cool thing is when the promoters don't, as an athlete, So like I did the Cal 2 years ago. And I would absolutely tell anybody to do it again. Yeah. They did a million minor things for the athletes. That's like the same reason that I have competitors in Arizona that I take to California to compete all the time.
Right.
Because they do the things that matter. Like I don't need the big fancy hall if the lighting is good and my clients leave with something cool. And then as an athlete, like they set us up. Like they gave gift cards for Cheesecake Factory was one of the things in our bag. And I was thinking like, oh, cool. It was like $5 or something. It was like $50 for every pro. And like, the pictures, those are free. We paid for them.
Yeah.
Like all these little details. And even though you're a pro, you're like, they don't have to do that.
Right.
That's badass. And then like, so when On posted his picture of the trophy, I was like, that's badass.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I was glad to see him pick up some points and do well.
He's been doing really good for the last couple of shows.
I know, and he beat Patrick Moore. I mean, like, fuck.
He quietly comes in and people are like, who is that? I'm like, how do you not know him? He's fucking amazing.
Is he still training at Golds Venice?
No, I thought
minus
he
the COVID.
No, I thought he lived up north. I don't know. I thought
he
lived in Sacramento.
Wow. Maybe maybe he just goes down sometimes.
Yeah,
I thought he trained there.
But yeah, his physique is wacky and just looks like it's gonna pop all the time. Yeah. So every time I see his name, it's funny too because anytime somebody does predictions, he never gets mentioned. I'm like, he's in the top 5 every time.
Yeah, I know. Is he still working with Chris?
I think so. I think. Yeah. Think. But I haven't. I didn't ask him.
Chris was telling me some of this stuff about working with him.
Right.
And like, Chris was enjoying it. Okay, what do we got going on?
Let's get some questions going, man. Do you have some or do you need some? I have a million. I was texting Chris because I'm curious. I do it right in the middle of the show. I'm like, I should ask.
Okay. Any advice on... So here's one. Any advice on training after a hernia operation?
Yeah, I mean, so I had 3 hernias at the same time.
That's why I'm asking you.
But truthfully, all I did was, number one, I went to a very aggressive sports surgeon. So I knew that whatever he said for timeline was accurate. And he literally said, once you go. The hardest part actually was putting the belt on. Because you can feel it at first. And your brain is like, is that okay? So I didn't want to cinch my belt down for a while. And it was just really a mental hurdle more than anything. I mean, so the advice is trust the doctor. Something I'm dealing with another client who just tore a tricep this year is I'm like, dude, we got to get past your brain. Your fucking doctor said we were good to go.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Because if it does break, if something happens, it just happened. It's like the doctor says it's good. They always push further than they need to. go. So the biggest advice would be just listen to your doc. If they give you the go ahead, you got to trust them. I mean, mine were 2008. So I guess 2009, I got the surgeries. And they're all good. So, and obviously I've done a thing or two that might have pressed on them.
Right.
So we're good to go.
Yeah, a thing or two.
Yeah. But I think also it's come a long way, man. Like when I did I got mesh behind two of them because I had umbilical, the one above, and the nut one all at the same time. And the only one that bothered me was the higher one because I could feel it. And I actually did an entire prep with it.
Yeah.
Because I knew I went and saw the doc and I was like, okay, what's the deal? And back then, dude, it was like a 12-week recovery. Now I think it's like 12 minutes. I mean, Sean Roden was like in the gym like a week later, I think. I don't know I'm sure there's stages and levels of hernias, but I mean, mine was literally 3 months before I could go.
My client Cass had hers done
after
her show, and she was 4 weeks.
Yeah. And did they tell her just go? Like, now you're good to go?
I don't remember. I know she pushed it a bit. I think they said 6, and she did 4.
She's like, it's close.
I can press overhead. I'm fine.
I'm going to go ahead and knock off a third of the of the allotted wait time. Okay, man, I got so many. Oh, this is an important one. Good. We're going to get something serious here. You've got choices. Pay attention.
Shit, I like this.
Okay. Would you rather shit every time you sneeze or throw up every time you fart? Rod is stumped by Anthony Medrano.
Trying to think about how often I sneeze when I'm not at home.
Well, that's the thing too. Is
not very often.
But I also feel like, is that immediate? Like, do you sneeze and boom?
Yeah, and like how
everywhere?
much? Like, do you just shart a little bit, or do you like take a full pound dump?
Yeah, because I mean I
can walk around all day with some shart in my pants. I'm fine.
That would affect me because of the smell knowledge. You know me about smell.
I'm just kidding. Fuck, man. That's a great question. Yeah,
that's not a great question, but okay.
I fart a lot more than I sneeze. So the inconvenience of the vomiting constantly would probably be a huge hassle.
Right. But I think, here's how I look at it, though.
I think take a sneeze suppressant drug.
I think puking is more socially acceptable than shitting your pants. That's the thing. Like if you're at the gym and all of a sudden you puked, like even if I was on the leg press and I let one out, so then I puked immediately, people would be like, well, he was pushing pretty hard.
Yeah.
But I think if I'm like, standing at the checkout at Target and I sneeze and shit my pants, I don't think people are going to be like, that's okay because he sneezed.
I'm thinking, I know.
I twisted it into what would the world think?
It would make being in public very thrilling. Because you'd always be living on the edge. You'd be like, holy fuck, I could sneeze at any moment. You'd be very careful about like eating hot sauce or being around pepper.
You ever like, now you need that guy that fucks up your sneeze though. I do that to people when you see him about to sneeze, I'll fuck it up for him and it always pisses them off.
Right.
I'm like,
get the release.
And they're like, you dick. Now they'd be like, thank you, and I don't have to shit my pants.
And now they know they have to go home because that sneeze is still on deck.
Yeah, now they go home, sit down, and sneeze. I
told
you I had a solid question. I get right to the good stuff.
You did have a solid one. What is the dumbest Olympic sport?
Okay, this is terrible. I'm not going to say it's the dumbest, but it's the dumbest that I tease all the time.
Right.
Is curling.
Oh, okay. That's everyone makes fun of curlers.
But the reason that I enjoy it is because we use it at the gym all the time. So like if I'm across the gym and I got to roll a 150 down, I like to like give it a roll and hopefully it'll get right to where it needs to be. And if it doesn't, I'll look at Matt and I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Why weren't you sweeping that? It went you didn't slow it down.
Hard.
And I see people watching it that have no idea the shit. Because you know what is interesting about the gym? It's home to us. So we don't really think of what we do in there. And I've like turned around before.
Very, very comfortable.
I've turned around before and have people just look at you like, you guys just made like a whole thing about rolling the dumbbell back.
Yeah.
I'm a child. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, curling is my vote. What's yours?
Well, as a Canadian, I got to stick up for curling. We got some good curlers. You know, it was funny because growing up where I grew up, curling was like the type of thing that, you know, like when I was in junior high and high school, it was like the type of thing your friends' parents did as an excuse to get drunk in the winter.
Like bowling in the States.
Right. Kind of. Yeah. So curling is like, it's like, oh, we get to go somewhere, play a game and drink beer.
Yeah.
And it's acceptable for us to like, you know, just let our kids kind of run around the fucking cafeteria the whole time. Yeah.
People do that. Like, just go do it like bowling. There's places for curling. Yeah,
there's like curling leagues and beer leagues and stuff. So it's like, you know, guys working at the factory have like, oh, okay, we're going to do a curling night, and, you know, like, or different, you know, like car dealerships will have curling teams, and like, it's like,
dude, I need in on this.
Like an organized type of thing, right?
Hey, Canadians, somebody's got to get me in on a curling that we can film, because that would be fucking hysterical.
It's like what golfers do in the winter.
Oh my God. Wrapping my head around, because when I think of curling, it actually seems dangerous. Ice involved. So I just can't, like, I can't see my mother hammered in curling. I just doesn't work out. I remember being with like friends of mine, and they'd be like, "Oh, we got to go to the curling rink. I got to get some money off my dad." We go down to the curling rink, and you could see like they're curling, and there's like beer cans everywhere, and it's like, you know, you get some. So curling is literally like bowling, as in like it's the only thing that happens at that rink.
Yeah, like the rink set up for curling. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just curling. Yeah, that's all they do.
Wow. Okay, you didn't answer the question though.
Dumbest Olympic sport?
Yes.
Speed walking.
I didn't even know that was a sport.
Yeah, it's an Olympic sport. Yeah, they give a gold medal for walking faster than everyone else can walk.
Even if so, what if somebody goes into a gallop? Are they now cheating?
They're constently watched along the track. They have judges and officials the whole length of the course. They're always
what negates goes in from a walk to a.
If you have to have one foot touching the ground at all times.
Huh.
Yeah. There has to be toe heel. Every step has to be toe heel, toe heel. You can't come off the ground.
Jesus, that is the dumbest sport ever. Okay.
Yeah. So so what they do is they try to make their strides as long as possible, but, you know, obviously not like crazy, right. But so they really turn their hips with each step. You know what I mean? Like their pelvis is just going bam, 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 bam.
How far do they walk?
I think there's like long distance ones and like shorter ones. Yeah, I don't know the distances, but they can. Yeah, you know.
That's one of those things like your kid gets into speed walking, you're like adopted.
It's like
I'm not claiming that shit. That's not mine.
It's so funny.
I would immediately blame my wife and tell her she banged the neighbor, because it's no fucking way that's my kid.
Like, yeah, it's just weird to me, because it's like having a contest to see who can jump the most medium.
Yeah. Who's the best at average?
We're having a hopping contest. And then you're like, well, what's the difference between jumping and hopping? And they're like, no hip flexion.
And you're like, sign me up. I'm going to get serious about this.
All ankle drive. Just
imagine like when you go into your PT and you're like, listen,
can't bend your knees. Can't bend your knees. You have to jump with your toes. Just gold medal.
God, it's terrible. Okay.
He bent his knees on that one.
Steroids. Oh boy. Do you think that growth would? Never mind. We're not going there. All right, here we go. This is a good one actually, because this is right up my Milos avenue of owning your shit. Okay. Who is better right now? And this is easy for me. Who is better right now? Nick Walker or Hunter Labrada?
Like right now today?
Yeah, like they competed today. Who wins?
Well, I mean, so that could be like a water issue. I'm just saying, like, you got to give him a couple weeks notice. Well, I think Hunter Labrada is. I think he's better right now.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a good question, because Nick is that good. And so is Hunter, obviously. I lean towards Hunter because when I look at their physiques, I know we're talking about now. I don't think Hunter has ever been off. His off always wins. So he turned pro off.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I don't think, here, I guess this is how I would answer it. I would not say, so when Tampa happened, I took no fear in saying Hunter Labrada is winning Tampa.
We talked about it. Yeah.
I'm not saying that if Ian and Nick are doing Tampa. Right. I'm not saying Nick is beating Ian for sure.
Yeah, and it's just a current state, this point in time. That's all.
So in this moment, I think Hunter is better than Nick. I think Nick has an endless amount of potential. Plus, honestly, from a flip side, and I think this probably comes down to the type of physique that I have and would like to have, I just love complete freaks. And Nick is a complete freak.
Yeah, he is.
Hunter is a pretty freak.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, that's that. Okay.
That's a good one. Both those guys are so awesome. As I sit in my chair, shrinking and getting older by the minute.
And judging who's better. I love it.
Judging the current crop of
people that are all better than us.
Yeah, exactly.
At your worst, you're still better than me. Just remember that.
Isn't it your turn? No.
I just answered that one. I got 100. I can do it all day. I got a great one right here. Who's the biggest piece of shit on IG, and why is it Brad Castleberry?
Did Joe ask that question?
No, but it's so I read it and I was like, I'm asking that because it's phenomenal. Well, I don't even have to answer because I just agree with it and I can move forward.
I just saw all Joe's stuff about the OnlyFans account, and he just the endless.
Well, it went over the edge because a guy commented on one of Brad's pictures talking about struggling with mental health after essentially the war.
Yes, after being
he came on and basically called a veteran weak for coming back. Like, do you have any idea? Because I have family that has seen some dark shit.
Yeah,
and it's like you can't unlive that, dumbass.
Yeah.
But listen, all kidding aside, C-Rock 30. Number one, you're right. Number two, I think if he didn't live in California, they would make someone stand between Brad and the computer so he could stop making dumb decisions and typing.
Right.
Because some people just need to say, I can jump really high, but I don't speak. Right. He could be Biden's son. Anyways, moving forward.
Oh, man. I was only aware of the Joe Donnelly side of that whole thing.
Yeah, I'd go on for days, but I just love it. I love this. And why is it Bradley Castleberry? I was like, and there it is. That's phenomenal. Okay, go ahead. I went 2 in a row.
Well, here's your question to me.
Oh, yes. Best question you got.
Which coach that you've worked with do you feel was the most ahead of his time, and why? So I'm asking you this because it's my turn to ask. It's your question to me, but you got to go first.
You flipped it right around there.
There you go.
So, for me, it's really easy because I really have – Dante was the coach that was ahead of his time.
Right.
Because when Dante brought DC training to light was when everyone was training volume.
Yep.
And I think that's why – and a lot of you young guys, I love it. Right now, DC's emerging. I had 5 new clients this weekend that just wanted DC. So it's funny how he tries to put it to sleep. I give Dante so much shit. I'm like, dude, you can't die. You're trying. You try to disappear, and it comes right back. But he really went back and said, here's what I suggest instead. And I think, number one, if anybody who's read Dante's writing, number one, understands, he writes in a way that you're like, oh, you're smarter than me. Okay. But also I think the timing of everything, people were ready for something new. And when he put it out there, it just made so much sense that that people went for it, and that's the running joke that people don't understand is how did dog crap training come about? The name, he literally just made the decision to throw a post up and created his account and just went with dog crap, and knowing Dante, it probably just came to his mind and he typed it and went. In hindsight, I'm sure he wishes he would have went the Dusty route and said Dante Trudell.
Wasn't it dog crap with 2 P's as well?
Yeah, 2 G's,
Wasn't
2 P's.
Two P's, 2 G, 2. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's funny. I remember how it looked.
2 G's, 2 P's.
Like every post. Boom, boom.
Yeah. So he was well ahead of his time. And granted, there were people who did low volume stuff, but he had a very specific reason for everything.
Yeah,
and,
I mean,
go ahead.
To be fair, Menser and obviously Yates had already come, and I guess Yates had already gone.
Yeah.
So the idea of low volume, super high intensity was out there, but then Dante took it, and like I sort of see like Dante saw it and thought, I can make this even more efficient. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you brought in the extreme stretching, when you bring in the rest pauses, when you specify the negative counts, when you really, I mean, that's why I tell people
standardized
when they reach out to me for a DC program, I do everything month to month. DC is up front. And it's $900 right now. And the reason is when you get your emails, you'll understand. I explain exactly how to do every exercise. Because it has to be, and like you said, standardized. It has to be standardized for you to be hitting it correctly. And I do laugh. Like I think it was a couple of months ago, 3 or 4 months ago, there was a study coming out on basically saying that that stretching under weight was a good idea. And it was like a aha moment. I said to Dante, I'm like, so are we on 2 decades of doing this, or is it just 1.5?
There was a study I might be wrong on this. Dante would have to, well, you might know. But there was a study that showed that they had rat legs that they would put under a loaded stretch for a long period of time. And obviously, Pete is not very happy about this. This was a couple decades.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit.
But they were load stretching some thigh muscles. And I can't remember how many hours they did it for, but they found that there was a point where it triggered hypertrophy. So there was like obviously some evidence that stretch loading had a role in muscle growth. And I believe Dante knew about that study.
Right.
And
I'm sure he did.
Yeah. And then that was like part of where that came from, but he might have to correct me.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the thing is I don't think that one thing that I think is always interesting is people do try to come out, and every now and then I'll even see it on his page, like, you didn't create rest pause. And he's like, I never said I did.
Yeah. No. He's the most aware of, like, those obscure studies that he'll send you.
Yep. Yeah, I get them all the time.
And you're like, so there's been a bunch of stuff. Like I don't even fucking remember which one was first, but where I'm Googling the shit out of something to try to figure it out. And then he just sends me the study. And I'm like, I Googled the fuck out of it. How did this study not come up? And he's like, I was searching for this when I stumbled upon it.
Trust me, I've done that before when I need something from him.
It's the exact study you're looking for, and you can't find it because you don't know what to type, or you kind of have it wrong or whatever. And then he's like, this one, and just sends it to you.
Yeah. How do you have that saved and even remember reading it? No, but it's so he was well ahead of his time. And I think what's cool too is he's continued to evolve. Like he's taught me things now. Some of which I don't even use because my clients aren't ready for it. He just sent me something for my new program that I've never done for hamstrings.
Oh, okay.
He's like, it was so funny because it's all over DM too, which makes me laugh because he has my email and my phone number. But I opened it up and it was this long thing. I was like, I got to come back to this. I thought it was going to be a little funny quote. So I got to come back and read this. But everything, I think the key on, I'm getting way off subject here, but with him is if you guys are going to look into DC, you have to do it exactly how it's written.
Yeah.
And I will admit that I've even drifted away from time to time where like the negative counts. When I first started DC, I was so on it. And then I started watching like Justin Harris training. I was like, well, my count's a lot slower than his. Like I'm going too far. I need to, and I realized, no, I wasn't. I need to go back and go and do it again. And it is amazing. I think some of it now I go back to because it keeps me safe. Because you can make 300 pounds really fucking heavy with a 4-count negative.
Oh, fuck yeah.
You know, like we're doing my first week back, I went right to my nemesis, which is a barbell incline with a 4-count negative. And I literally was doing 335 for my rest pause set. And I mean, for someone my size, you know, that's not an impressive number.
No.
And I'm getting dusted, but I was smoked. Like my chest was sore for 3 days. I'm like, why do I get away from this? What is wrong with me?
Right. You know, it's funny. I thought about that the other that what you just said. How did I get away from this?
Yeah.
We decided to use the old hack squat the other day.
The really high incline one that you guys have?
Yeah, like the 45-degree apex one.
That.
We're like, let's use the old hack squat, you know? And we put a small band on the top, one of the thin bands, so it wasn't deloading much. Like it was probably it deloaded like one plate, not even one plate aside. Like deloaded like
smaller,
not even the weight of the sled.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just a touch, right? And I thought, fuck, since we're doing the harder hack squat, I might as well just make it as hard as possible. You know? And I put it like super quad, like really quad dominant stance, and then 5-second negatives. And we only got up to like, I did a set with 4.5. Well, I did a set with 4 plates for the long negatives, I think. 4.5 plates. We didn't do the slow negatives. But yeah, anyways, after we did it, I was like, fuck, are my quads pumped? Like they are ballooned. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. Last time we did this, I thought the same thing.
Yeah. And I keep not going back to it.
I love this hack squat.
Right.
It's like, we got to do this more often. That's just what I was thinking in my head. Right.
Yep.
But you know, sometimes you're doing exercise you haven't done for a while and you're like, fuck, why did I stop doing that?
Yeah. All the time.
You know,
all the time. Or like you said, or how you do the execution.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm using the banded, the orange band. I don't know what that costs or weighs, but I assume it takes away 180 pounds, 90 pounds, like a plate each side.
Right.
But it's so worth it.
Oh yeah.
You know,
probably safe bet. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel really good with it, but I do point it out to people because in my video, sometimes you can't see the band. So when you see 18 plates, I'm like, it's actually 16.
It's still
crazy, but I will say, even if we say it equals 1 plate aside, something about it makes me feel safer being explosive.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. So it's not just the weight. Mentally, I'm not worried. So I can, because I do a real slow negative, but when I go to explode, I'm trying to jump through the roof. And I feel safe doing that with the band for whatever reason because I don't feel that tension in the knee.
Yeah.
So, you know, the how is pretty nuts. All right, get to your answer because the whole reason I asked the question is I wanted to hear it. I just did a 20-minute break to get back to you answering my question.
The coach that I worked for that was most ahead of his time was Scott Abel. And I worked with him from 2003 to 2008. But back in like 2002, 2003, when I first started working with him, he was already doing like interval cardio, like HIIT style cardio.
Yeah.
It was structured differently, but it's because no one else was doing anything with it. So he was like figuring it out himself almost. And he's like, hey, let's do this, let's do that. Let's spike your heart rate and then cruise and spike it and then cruise. You know what I mean?
What's an example, if you can remember, of what you would do?
Well, you know how everyone on the bike now, they turn the tension up for the sprints. Right. You know what I mean? Like the Wingate bikes and stuff, you drop the tension, fucking hammer the sprint. So there's a lot of muscular, like explosive fucking pop, 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 pop. Back when Scott first started doing them, you only up the tension enough so that there was some stress so the pedals wouldn't fly away from you. You don't want to pedal on a light, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was about speed, as many RPMs as you could possibly crank.
Right.
So you weren't pushing against a hard resistance. You were cranking RPMs and you crank that for 30 seconds.
Right.
And so the tension wasn't there, so they weren't as hard, but you were still, it was the same thing. You're like, 30-second spike or 45-second spike or whatever, and then like a couple minutes low, and you do that for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So I remember doing like interval when we weren't calling it HIIT, we were calling it intervals.
Well, because how he was doing it was intervals.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny you said that, because that's something that I think is important. I'll have people send that to me like, oh yeah, I do 40 minutes of HIIT. I'm like, no, you don't.
No, you don't. Yeah. HIIT is like,
nope. If you do 15, like you're a bad motherfucker.
Yeah. If you get like 6 or 8 sprints in, you're fucking crushing it. Yeah. And then also too, like he was messing with your metabolism, like with these crazy, he would diet you hard, like real hard. Like people go, what are your calories? And you're like, I don't know, but I think they're around 2,500. And people would be like, holy shit. And then he'd look for certain cues in what's going on in your body, and then he'd hit you with these crazy fucking high calorie days.
Right. But it was like a day, right?
Yeah, it was like a whole day. And then you'd sweat like you were in fucking Mexico all day, because your body was just flaming these calories off. Like you never put more calories off. You could just feel them leaving your body, like it's radiating heat fucking everywhere, and you'd be melting, and you're like, oh, there's a real metabolic like occurrence happening here. Right. And he like really taught me a lot about how to look for that and how to use it to your advantage and all that sort of thing. But people weren't doing things the way he was doing them. He was like telling everyone to keep their salt in back when people were still taking their salt out. Right. He came along and he wrote an article in like the mid 90s about like, why are you taking your salt out? You're just risking flatness constantly and shitty workouts and
Isn't it funny that like back in the day though, like if you think about it, and I've done that to clients before too, good client, like a client, if it was you, where you'd say, hey, are we gonna switch to like the water base? I'd go, why?
Yeah, why?
And you could stump them because they don't. Well, because we're 4 weeks out. But why, based on what you look like? Yeah. And they're just looking at you like, oh, I don't actually know why. Yeah. And I think that's when he would say this to me, I can only imagine him going, why do you pull the sodium? And I go, well, because but why? Yeah. I guarantee you people are like, because everyone does.
Yeah. I remember his article talked about like how you're coming into the show on really low carbs and you're just drinking a lot of fucking water and you're salting your food. And even though you're on low carbs, you still look crazy in the gym and get good pumps. And he's like, why? That is the salt and the water. Yep. When you fuck with those two things, here we go. Let's go for a crazy ride of who knows what the fuck's going to happen.
I think that's the key though, is you don't know. So my first big show was the Emerald Cup in 2006. Right. And I went to the show, went to Seattle at 226, 227. And I mean, dude, I was peeled out of my mind. And my coach switched everything. Like we're talking about, I was eating peas and I was eating ground beef. And then we switched to the what's the water? The old water trick. Distilled water. And long story short, dude, I weighed in at the weigh-ins at 240. And I was so hard that I was still hard. But I wasn't who I was 3 days before. And that's when I learned the why. Because had we literally done nothing different, including drank the 2 to 3 gallons of water a day, the whole bit, I would have been hard to beat. Right. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like at 226, 227 pounds and no water pull, I would have been in the mix to win the super heavies instead of taking fourth. Right. So it's like that's when I realized like I didn't know why. I just knew why did we change everything if I looked so good? And that's always my argument leading into shows now with clients is like, but you look good now. Yeah. So why don't we just instead of trying to change everything, knock the edge off? Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. So no, it's interesting that someone like him, just like Dante, like essentially going against what everyone else was doing. And because he was smart enough and could speak it well enough, people went, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. As opposed to just telling him he's an idiot. So yeah, I knew the answer to that, but I always like hearing about his stuff.
Okay, your turn.
What was the toughest thing you had to endure on a prep, physically and or mentally?
Oh. There was like a 2-year period where my life was far too complicated. And that was from 2012 to 2013. And I was going through like a huge breakup. Mm-hmm. Right. And then anyway, so that was it. I prepped for the 2012 Nationals while I was going through a huge breakup. And I remember none of it.
You remember none of the breakup or none of the prep?
None of anything.
Right.
I just have a blank spot. I fucking literally tuned out from life, and I don't even remember. Next thing you know, I'm like second place at the Nationals, and everyone's saying, fuck, you look really good. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I didn't win, but I guess I look good, and I got some pictures. Holy shit, what did I do? I don't remember.
How did I get here?
How did I get here?
It's like when you drive somewhere and you get there and you realize you don't remember a single turn.
That's exactly what it was like. The drive to work, right? Because you do it, and the other part of your brain does it, and you're thinking about your fucking dog and what you're gonna do when you're done. Yeah, and it was like that. I told you this before. Then in 2013, I contacted Chris. And my life was still a disaster because I'd like gotten back together with my girlfriend for a little while, and that didn't work. And then blah, blah, blah. And, might have been banging some chicks.
Not you. You might have been. Because the thing is, he was walking the path of righteousness. Doesn't remember. I got you.
Yeah. So like,
there can only be one asshole on this show, and I've taken that spot.
From like early 2012 to the end of 2013, the timeline of my life, I couldn't arrange it properly. I wouldn't know where things went.
That's fucking crazy.
And I remember I sent Chris photos. I was like, that's the thing though. Bodybuilding was like, if I just keep that fucking together.
Right.
Don't miss my workouts. Don't miss my meals. Don't just be a bodybuilder. It'll hold the structure of my life together somehow.
Right.
And so that's how I was able to still do well. I mean, I got beat by Antoine in 2012, and I thought I looked really good, and he looked good, but whatever. And I thought it was fair at the end of the day. But I still was like shocked at how good I did.
How did you in 13?
So I contacted Chris. Whoops. There we go. I contacted Chris, and he said, okay, I'll help you, but we have to have a talk about last year. And I told you this? And I was like, what? And he's like, you were a fucking disaster. You cannot do another show like that. And I was like, oh. And he's like, I'm amazed you looked as good as you did.
Dude, this is right back to the top of the hour. This is what I love about Chris.
You
were a mess, and you're like,
you were a mess. He's like, he said your mental state was beyond the pale. That's what he said.
An acetoism right there, dude.
And I was just like,
and you knew he was right.
Well, I didn't even remember. I didn't even fucking remember the prep. I didn't remember a single fucking thing. I was like, oh, well, at least someone remembers what happened. I guess I must have been like stressed. He said after I was just so stressed. He's like, dude, because the show was in my hometown, and I guess I was just like obsessed, like win or die, and just like really difficult to like. He said you were just different.
Right, and when he knows you, so.
Yeah. So 2013, my life was coming around. I remember 2013 better.
Right.
And I had a better mental state.
Right.
But my body went to shit. I tore my quad twice during my prep in my right leg. And I had a terrible prep, and I wound up 6th at Nationals. I've told that story before.
Yeah.
But,
that's nuts. But that explains a ton. But you know what I do like is and this is a conversation I had with a client, so I want to kind of segue with it. I have a client who sent their check-ins over the weekend, and it was, I didn't get my water in because life was stressful, and I had trouble eating because life was stressful.
Bullshit.
And it was funny because I said, okay, and I'm being careful, but being, as a matter of fact, I hate email because there's no tone.
Yeah.
But essentially I said bullshit, because things that don't require talent just get executed.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that life was stressful. You didn't take the trash out.
Right.
Take the fucking trash out. Drink your water. Eat your food. So your life was a mess to the point you don't even remember it, but executing is robot.
Yeah.
Okay. And the result isn't always the same. It's pretty impressive. You were able to detach emotionally, that means, because your body's still cooperating, which is impressive.
I became an expert at being emotionally detached.
Sorry, he's back though. He loves you, and it wasn't you then.
No. But I came out of that.
That is a thing that it's a game changer, because I've had preps like that as well. But if you can't emotionally detach, it shows in your physique too. Right. And then in those cases you execute, because I did the same thing. I executed perfectly, but I looked like shit because my body didn't do anything. I remember Chris, he knew, because things were just smooth. And then the very next year, because I got pissed off, I eliminated anything that was a distraction, and then everything worked.
Right.
Nothing worked. Now everything worked. You know what I mean? It's like it wouldn't have mattered what we did. It wasn't going to work. So I think you nailed that question. I mean, for me, it was very similar. It's just the stresses I had was owning retail stores, becoming my career in bodybuilding bumped up to the point that I was traveling immensely. And I just really realized I had to make a choice in life, because I could be a mediocre everything, or I could be great at one thing.
Right.
And to be honest, I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, why did you choose this? It's because I can own businesses for the rest of my life.
But you can't
the memories that I wanted to have. And don't get me wrong, like everyone knows who's followed me for all those years, I never had delusions of grandeur on stage. But there are things that I've experienced through bodybuilding I wouldn't have had. Unfortunately, I don't even know that I took a financial hit, because bodybuilding has done me well as well. But I can go back to retail or any other business when I'm 50, 60, 70 years old. But I cannot go back at 45 and go, I really wish maybe I'll give those companies a call and see if anybody wants me to travel the world and meet people.
No, I know. Trust me.
Yeah, nope, They don't care, sir. Your window is closed. So, but yeah, that was my thing. And the stress was literally just making a decision, which is funny because now in hindsight, it wasn't difficult.
Right.
And not to be a weirdo, because I know some of you people are all odd, but I'm a big believer in things are supposed to happen in the universe, kind of doing what it's supposed to do. So I had decided to sell my retail stores in a conversation with my wife, and said, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm smoked. I'm exhausted. 2 days later, the guy who bought them for me called me. I never put them for sale.
Right. He just called you and offered you.
Just called, and he said, hey, I'm moving back to Arizona. Do you remember me? Yes. Are your stores for sale? I'm like, yes, they are. And I want to say between 30 and 40 days later, I had sold them.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, apparently it was meant to be. Was that your question or mine?
What was the question? That was your question.
We are so off track, I don't even know anymore.
It's my question. Here's one. Here's a good one. Where do you like training more? Metroflex in Dallas or Golds in Venice?
Is it Golds in Venice now? Or Golds in Venice when I loved it?
Let's say it's February of this year, pre-corona, and everything's still the way it was. But this year, 2020.
Okay. Metroflex.
Right.
I know that's, and the reason is it is a bodybuilding gym. So there's things that people don't understand, and here it goes back to Dusty's weirdness. There is an energy in the building at Metroflex Ronnie Coleman, Johnny Jackson, Branch Warren, they're in there every day, even when they're not there.
Yeah.
And a slew of champions I've never heard of. So when you walk into that gym, it could be dead silent. You can be tired, and you will have your workout, and it'll be nasty. So, and Golds used to have that. It doesn't anymore.
Right. Golds used to be such a fun holiday.
Yep.
But like now, like, do you even want to walk the 2 blocks to the firehouse? Like,
yeah.
Like, are you going to get robbed between Golds and the firehouse?
You know what it is for me is they just change.
Everything's changed, though.
They
It's
turn
not
their
just the
back
gym.
on everything about the sport. I didn't feel the other stuff as much, but I guess because I'm used to city. Like I don't even I walked when we were there for Mutant on a Mission or Mutant Mansion. I walked from the mansion to Golds one night.
Yeah.
Like I don't really process. I think Venice is kind of home to me. So even the weirdness and anything that could be dangerous feels fine to me. But the gym itself, like the day I was asked for $40 to train there by a kid who knew my first and last name, I was like, what? $40?
How about $50? Isn't it $50 now?
Yeah, I think it's up even higher. And then what was bad was in that experience, I was there with some friends, one of whom had just taken second at the Bikini Olympia. And I said, well, isn't she free because she got second at the Olympia? And he laughed, literally.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, so we don't matter at all. And I mean, it sounds funny, but like, I get it. Like the pro card thing, it's fucking, everyone has a pro card. It's worn out. Nobody gives a shit. But she took second at the Olympia. And you also laughed.
Yeah.
So the level of just complete disrespect, I was like, okay, you know. And then the gym itself isn't the same. When you walk in there, like, I guarantee you now there are gyms within a 5-mile radius that I would rather train at if it wasn't called Golds Venice.
Right.
You know, so, but there is something, if you've ever been to the Metroflex, and you know me, like, I think the only difference is when I ruined my shirt in that gym, I probably wouldn't wash the shirt just because it's awesome.
Well, I agree with you. Like, you know, I'd love to go to Metroflex and see Brian again and have a workout. And I've been to Golds plenty of times. So, and you know what? I've been to Golds so many times when it was still awesome.
Yeah.
Like I went to Golds in the mid 90s. I saw Flex Wheeler there training with a tank top on, and Chris Cormier and Paul Dillette. You know, like I saw all those guys in the gym. Fucking crazy. I saw fucking Hulk Hogan there one day, and Roddy Piper, and fuck, you know what I mean? Like just all these famous people, you know. What's the fucking actor's name? He's in The Wrestler.
You don't know the answer?
I just can't remember his name right now. It's just Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke.
You like how I don't answer? I just am blown away you don't know.
I saw Mickey Rourke in there one day. Like just
Mickey's there all the time.
Yeah, like I've been there when it was fucking awesome. You know what I mean? So I don't really need to go back again, but it's still a cool gym. Like, don't get me wrong. Last time we were there, I had great workouts and stuff, and we had a lot of fun. But it's like, yeah, not the same.
Crazy, and I'm once again, dude. I'm all over the place today. I've actually found more fun in I shouldn't say finding, but people showing me these other gyms I'd never heard of.
Oh yeah,
nuts.
Well,
they're just stacked, and you're like, that's Mutant on a Mission, where you're like, wait, what? It's like this, like, I mean, in Dino's, like, I would have, if not for you, I wouldn't have known Dino's, and I would absolutely love to prep for a show in a gym like that.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? Just old motivation. School fucking iron, and I don't think that you can have a bad workout at a gym like that.
No, there's something about it. I know. There's something about it. It's uncomfortable.
Well, what about so Ironworks over there? Remember Ironworks? Yeah. You've been to that big gym?
No, but I haven't trained there. It looks like a great gym though.
They have everything, and it's the same shit. You're like,
Just awesome.
Why are there so many unbelievable gyms here? Like,
I know, I saw that all the time. Like, yeah, the gyms in that area, we're talking about Birmingham, by the way.
Yeah.
The gyms in Birmingham, like, there's like 5, 6 awesome hardcore gyms there. You know?
Well, you know, when you get a gym, and you know this as a gym owner, it's funny because I'm not a gym owner at all, but I'm helping select, and I have bought a couple pieces myself for the gym.
Right.
You think about, well, is this necessary? Like, for example, I told you I wanted a hammer pullover for our gym, and I told Lance, I'm like, this doesn't really benefit your gym. It's not going to get you members. But are you cool if I buy it because I want one?
Right.
Those gyms have all of that shit also.
Yeah.
And you're like, so you guys just decided, fuck it, we're getting everything.
Right.
You know, at a couple $1,000s a piece for obscure pieces that only someone like you would really understand how awesome they are. You know, like now I'm dying to get over to Ant's new gym over there. Like, look at that place.
Yeah. I know,
like,
it's
what
awesome.
You guys do? You just said, fuck it, we're going to drop $1 million in equipment.
Yeah, and have Dorian's pull over in the corner.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
I know.
So
I'm actually going to look at a Nautilus pullover today or tomorrow.
Where is this?
It's near me. There's a guy who's a bit of a collector, and he's got a gym full of equipment, and he put it up on Craigslist. And I called him, and he's like, "Yeah, come have a look at it. It's got a 300-pound stack on it, second generation. It's like the Nautilus blue with the black pads, you know."
That's standard. The same one that they have at Quads, right, in Chicago? Isn't that the exact one? The same one he has.
Yeah, it might be. I know the one they have at Montanari Brothers is the next generation. It's like bigger, and you're up on like a high chair.
Oh no, because that's the one they have at
Quads.
Okay,
Quads.
Okay,
yeah,
you're right.
Okay, this one looks cool, so I'm gonna go have a look at it. So yeah, might be able to pull the trigger on that. So yeah.
Sorry, I'm having a moment.
Get those.
I love those. Yeah. Love those.
Do you ever train your neck?
No.
Have you ever trained your neck?
No.
Never?
Look at it. No. I actually laugh every time I see someone doing it.
I get it for football players and wrestlers.
Yeah, I'll see like an average dude.
Right.
You know what, I guess it's kind of like when you see a completely average dude twisting up a machine and using it improperly.
Right. So the question, I have a question here. What's your best 4-way neck machine? What's the best 4-way neck machine in your experience? And then another guy asked if we train our necks.
What's with the necks with you?
I don't know.
I couldn't even answer that, so that's on you, kid.
The only one I know of that's like made like enough that you can actually find it would be the Hammer one. I actually gave a 4-way neck machine. We gave one to my client Morgan because we got one in an order and we had nowhere to put it. And the rest of the equipment in the truck was going to Morgan's gym. We just put it back on the truck. We're like, let's give it to Morgan.
Figure it out.
We had nowhere to put it. And I didn't want to fucking sell it and have it sitting in the corner and like, you know what I mean?
I totally get that logic. That's hysterical, though. Oh my god. Huh. All right. This is good. I'm gonna let you expand on this one. OCD and bodybuilding. Why do they go together?
Well, I think they sort of wind up becoming bedfellows because they have similar interests. The routine and the structure are demanded of you, not asked of you. And you're all people who are OCD are like, they love structure. Yep. I mean, the world makes sense to them when everything has a function and a purpose and a time and varying degrees of that. And so, you know, people who have various levels of, you know, OCD from the, you know, the good amount of OCD all the way to the like dysfunctional amount of OCD, when they try bodybuilding, if they stumble into bodybuilding, it like makes sense to them. It lays over their day. It like falls into the spaces better, you know? It's sort of like if you have a kid who's born and he's got, you know, massive feet and big long hands and he's super tall and you happen to throw him in the pool when he's a kid and he starts swimming and then you get Michael Phelps.
Right.
Right.
This is exactly how it happened.
You know what I mean? Like
pushed him into the pool.
Yeah, and he's, but it's like if you get a guy who's really OCD and he happens to stumble upon bodybuilding, it sometimes like, fuck, this locks everything in.
Right. I think you can do the opposite too. Like I joke about OCD, but I think it's important that people understand that number one, it's not OCD at all.
No.
Like what I like is I like things the way I like them. Which means it's not
stubbornness and selfishness.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, it's funny because I joke and I say OCD, but it's like that's really not at all what it is. But what I've found with bodybuilding and me is because technically, when you're talking about OCD, I am north and south, meaning I also hate a schedule. If you make like the fact that I can get on this call every week at 10:30 is fucking amazing. But I found the opposite, which was dropping bodybuilding over top of it gave me a net, like you said, that kind of kept me in balance because I had to do certain things. And that just essentially gave me 3-hour increments to get everything else done, between meals. So now it's comfortable. Like I will probably eat 5 or 6 meals a day for the rest of my life at a certain time because it's comfortable.
Yeah, and I know exactly what you mean about my entire life has been planned in between meal allotments.
Yep.
Like if someone's like, when I hear someone say, oh, I had a client at 11 and 12 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. And I'm like, where was your break? Like, you have to stop and eat. You have to reset yourself. Like, I don't know. I would schedule like 11 and 12, and then I have a 3 and 4. And then, and I'd like leave a 2 hour because I might need a nap.
Yep, I always do that too.
So Jesus,
I literally did the exact same thing, and I never sold my time because people would say, "Well, can I have that 10?" I'm like, "No, I'll pay you $110 an hour." No, what do you do then? I go home.
Yes,
because I lived like a mile from the gym when I had my studio. It was just the rule, and I tell people that all the time. I'm like, don't ever sell your time because you can't get it back.
Right.
Because it's really hard once you get the money. You know how that works. Because training, if you're a good trainer, it's pretty solid money, and it's very hard to say, you know what, I'd rather take a nap than make that $100 an hour.
Right.
Now in my brain, this nap cost me $100. Fuck you. Like, I'll take the money. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I could never sell it because I wouldn't buy it back, so to speak.
Oh man.
Your turn.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Damn, I'm looking here. More music questions. You don't want music questions, though.
I like you to answer them. I should start asking them, but I just don't answer because I barely know. You guys get confused and think that we're both these huge, like, useless information champions. It's just wrong.
Do you so here's a question for you. How much Arimidex do you find most people actually need to take if they're running about 750 test, 500 test, 750 test in your experience?
Are they getting diced for show, or are we talking about just enough to keep them?
Just let's say they're just training off season, taking 500 test. What
0.5
normally
every 3 days.
0.5 every 3 days.
Yeah,
a lot of people. The Arimidex has a very long half-life. Mm-hmm. So there's even, I saw a study that was like a medical study done on Arimidex, and they were just giving people 1 tab a week, and it was keeping their estrogen in check.
Yep.
Like for days and days.
Which
and
is
days.
Almost exactly what I just said.
Yeah.
0.5 every 3 days.
every 3 days with a long half-life. Yeah. So yours would just be a little smoother.
Yeah. And that's why is because I find, here's the deal with everyone has this thing they want to shut down estradiol.
Yeah,
no,
you need it.
Don't. Knock that shit. Like, I want you to, like, I run mine a little low because I feel better. But with my clients, I don't make them spend the amount of money I had to figure out where I felt best because I was just doing blood work all the time. I did a stint there where I was like, I wanted to know. So it was like, me again, Do another panel.
I totally agree with you. Just a little tiny, just a little pinch of Arimidex can keep everything in check. And there's also like a lot of stuff about Aromasin that looks better on paper. Like, you know what I mean? So I think it was Meadows who was saying that for contest prep, when you're taking a little bit more, he likes Aromasin every day because it's supposed to be easier on your cholesterol, your lipids.
Yeah, well, and also, truthfully,
but because it has
we are destroying it. So we understand we're fucking up your training and everything. I want you to have negative estradiol
the last few weeks, but he said off season you'd have to like microdose it to control your estrogen because it's such a short half life. So that's when the kind of just like using a touch of Arimidex. That's how I feel about it, anyways. But just so you know, not a doctor.
Really? I have to laugh at that because I don't know if you saw, but I've had like 3 questions in the last couple of my random Q&As that people will say, my doctor said this, what do you think? And I'm like, yeah. Well, why the fuck would you ask the idiot if the genius already answered?
This one's not in my wheelhouse either, but I'll just throw it at you. Foods that raise HDL cholesterol. So good cholesterol. I mean,
they want it raised?
Well, their HDL's low. Their good cholesterol's low.
Well, I mean, number one, that goes. Don't even go all the way back to the most basic thing. You need to bring in more good fats. Most people, I don't know why, and this is a good topic.
Fish oil is obviously on the list.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Don't overcomplicate. What will make sure you get your numbers up? I like things I can control. So I like to use oils, because I know exactly what I'm getting. You can get really specific with them. And if you don't have a lot of room, say it's off season or whatever, you can put them right over top of your food. Or you can even cook with some of them that are set up that way. But most of you people, guys, you're not adding enough fats. I don't know what that's all about. It's like all of a sudden we think that carbs are essential, and they're not. Fats are essential. Your body needs the fats. And of course, when your good cholesterol is down, it's like a teeter-totter. Guaranteed that person's bad cholesterol is high. Guaranteed. You rarely will see HDL low and LDL fine.
I have, in my experience, whether I'm off season or pre-contest, the 2 things that affect my cholesterol values that I've really only ever really seen a couple of moves on my blood is my HDL. I think normal range, the bottom is like 1.0. And I've been like 0.98 a few times. And the doctor's like, well, technically you need to raise your HDL.
Right.
And then I've had high LDL,
of course,
where it's just over like the same amount, like 0.2 over the end of the range. And I found that when I was off season and younger and eating fast food more often, that's when I would see the high LDL.
Right.
And then if I wasn't taking fish oils or paying attention to even just a bit of fish oil would be enough to like move me to 1.01.
Yeah. No, I mean, if you take 2 of those twice a day, you're good to go.
So that's the only real personal information I have about cholesterol, because mine's never been really fucked up or out of whack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I do, because I typically run a lower fat diet during preps for clients. That I have bumped into, oh shit, I got to get you some fish oils just to get you up a little bit. Yeah. And it's low enough that I'm not even talking with the diet.
And sometimes I just operate under the assumption that every single fucking person is taking 3 to 4 grams of wild fish oil a day.
Right.
Because you should be.
So I think that's a factor. Like, at no point during a prep would I ever say, oh, you better lower your fish oils.
Yeah, no, it's just it's like vitamin C. I just take it every fucking day.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed. Okay, I got a big one here that we got to touch on because it actually came from a friend of mine. What are your thoughts on these athletes who are essentially saying, well, I can't work and I'm a bum because I'm prepping for a show? And I mean this from an advice standpoint, not a judgment standpoint. You know what I mean? Like,
so here it is. If you do want to not work while you prep for a show. You want to shut everything down. You just want to lay on your couch, nap twice a day, eat 6 meals. I'm all for that if you have the money to do it.
Right.
But don't expect other people to fucking help you do your show. Like, if you happen to be getting a $15,000 a month check and you just want to kick it, I'm like, fuck, I don't blame him. I guess maybe he's going to make it up later. I would need to keep working because I would need this. I couldn't do nothing. It would make it worse. It would make the prep way harder. Like, I feel like I'm a moving machine now that can never stop. Too many things going on. There's too many people depending on me to return a message or do something for the gym or be somewhere. There's just too much going on. And I wouldn't even have, like, that is my life, right? Mm-hmm. So the people that just want to do nothing, I mean, it all, you know, like, if you're a top pro, I get it. But if you're doing like a local show and you want someone to, like, I don't know, you want to stay in your parents' basement and not work or something, I don't get that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it came up because it's one of those things. I see it more on the regular, and I've actually had a couple clients, good people. They're like, I can't be doing this and prepping for a show. And I'm always like, well, hold up.
Yeah.
How long does it take you to eat 6 meals, like, per meal?
Especially when you're hungry.
You know, like, no, the shit goes right down. And how long are you actually training? Okay. Yeah. How much cardio? There's too much time. And I guess the reason I focus on it is I see a lot of guys and girls really putting all their eggs in this basket. And I'm thinking, okay, but once again, what do you think happens when you turn pro? Mm-hmm. Because it's not the 90s. Muscle Tech does not call you with a $300,000 contract at all. And I mean, you know, the amount of contracts that exist are low. And now more and more and more, they're taken by people who are not even competing at all. Yeah. Because guess what? They're working, hustling, their social media, their YouTube, all these things every day, you know? And I just really think it's something that, because I've had a few questions about it. I had just recently had somebody ask me on my one of my Q&As what I did for bodybuilding, and truth be told, I didn't say I'm going to pick this career because of bodybuilding. I did things I was passionate about that made me money, and I also did bodybuilding. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, I'm not going to suggest that you just take any job. I mean, if you can't break for food, then you got to decide if you want to have that job or you want to be a bodybuilder. But there's no reason to do one or the other. And this idea that you're going to lay on your couch, and I just don't. You kind of nailed it. When I turned pro, I still had the stores, so I was working probably 60 hours a week, plus going home and the business. You know, you don't leave the gym and, like, turn the light off about the gym in your brain. It never ends. But it's funny because it felt easy. I didn't have time to be hungry. I didn't have time to think about I'm tired, or you don't have time. And I feel like on the flip, the amount of time that you gain, just like you said, makes it harder. You're sitting around bored and you're hungry. That's tough. Like, I took clients all the time when they'll say, man, I get hungry at night. I go, no, you don't get hungry at night. You get bored because you stop. You're not busy anymore. So you realize, when do people eat chips and dip? It's not in the middle of their fucking day. Yeah. It's when they're laid in front of their television doing nothing.
I still remember when I went to college with, like, a full course load, you know, 5 classes, and I had labs and everything. And I just remember how, like, I didn't even have to think. My meals were just like, you know what I mean? It was like,
you had to.
It was just such a robot process. Like, it was automatic. There was no, like, dilly-dallying and go, I don't feel like getting up. There was none of that. I could sleep another hour. Like, it was just like, just landed on a treadmill, and 4 months later, boom, on stage. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Like, you know, so but it flew by.
I think that's an important thing for up-and-coming people in the sport, is to understand, like, the best advice I can give you if you want to have a chance of being a great bodybuilder is have a good career.
Yeah, you got to be able to afford. You got to pay to play.
Yeah, because eventually you will hopefully get to where I was, where I got to say, you know what, I'm going to put the career away now because bodybuilding pays enough that I don't have to do it. But what's funny is as my career has went on, I'm busier now than I was then. Like I think people think because I like you or me, I can train at 11 a.m. or whatever I want. Right. It's like, oh, well, it's cool because he just does nothing all day.
No, fuck.
Like, yeah. You know, and maybe some of that is because, you know, you see on Instagram and you see how often we're doing this stuff. That is work as well.
Well, the working from home thing, I mean, like I'll get up at 8 and I'm kind of on the laptop till 2 p.m, like nonstop. Yeah. And I'm returning emails and writing stuff and altering stuff and changing things and looking at pictures and, check my phone. Oh, there's some stuff about the gym. Yeah, answer those, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I got to call this guy, call that. Like, there's just all this stuff going on that I can do from one chair and and I just bang it off. Next thing I know, I'm like, holy fuck, it's been 4 hours. I got to eat again.
Yep.
And I like throw a meal down and then I'm like, well, I guess I'll head to the gym for the day. Like, you know, around 2 p.m. Like, and so some people think, oh, you're just showing up at 2.
Yeah. You've been doing nothing all morning.
Yeah, you know. So, yeah.
But I think it's key because it also will help you guys have a purpose.
Yeah.
You know, like if somebody magically deposited the money I make into my account every day, I would still work.
The older I get, the more I realize that when you have some responsibilities that you care about and a purpose that you're working towards, life sort of sorts itself out. Like most decisions just get made without even realizing it was a decision.
Right.
There's no like, it's just like, we're that way. You know what I mean? Like when you know where you're going.
Like imagine you do that. You make the decision to prep for a show and you're gonna KO your savings and you're gonna go all in. The day after the show, now what?
Kind of been there, you know, like, you know what? I mean, I had a show when I was younger where I was like going to college, but I didn't work. Right. So I just was living off this cash I had. And then after the show, I was like, oh, fuck. Well, I finished school, so that's good for the semester, but I'm out of money.
Right. Yeah. Shit. Yeah, but I do. I mean,
get a job.
It's key. I think that those are things that people can do, and especially now with the internet, like there's just no excuse. So it's funny because I hear it now, and I guess maybe I'm old and judgmental now, but literally when I hear that, I go, lazy fuck. You're not a good bodybuilder either. Like that's my brain. Like because
just the most brutal thing you just think.
Boom. Because I don't understand it. Like it doesn't, you know, it's not that fucking hard. We eat 6 times a day and you train. Let's get wild. You train for 3 hours.
I really hope we can get to the point where you feel comfortable to tell us how you really feel about things.
Yeah, probably not going to happen today because today.
Maybe today's not the day.
I'm on the fence today.
Yeah, today you really don't know how you feel about things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've definitely established who despises me today and who likes me. So we're good.
Yeah. No, I'm excited about the future.
Yeah. I think we're gonna get plenty of comments without asking today. Dusty's an asshole. Check.
So we've reached a point in the show where I still have some stuff to talk about, but I gotta fucking take a leak.
That's how old are you again? It happens.
It happens. So I'm gonna take a little 2-minute break here.
Perfect.
Scott can play some music.
I gotta like really get my hat high if I'm in the front. Uh-oh, big swig. Now he's gonna have to piss. Fuck.
Let's fucking do this. Okay, I'm back, Dusty.
Welcome back. How was it?
Oh, it was glorious.
It's good. I
leaned on the wall. Leaned on the wall for a while. It was a big one.
So, next week we have a guest.
Yeah, so we were supposed to have Ben Chow on today, but he had to move it a week. So Ben Chow is going to be joining us next week.
Nice.
So we'll have a little bit of bodybuilding and bollocks will be in the house.
I like how we're stealing their guys back one at a time. This is great.
Little crossover episode. You know what I mean? It's like back in the day when they used to have a character from one show make like an appearance on a completely different TV show as that character.
Yeah.
They'd link them. Yeah.
I like when they do that on some of my shows with like SVU and stuff where they'll join them together but it's very open, so you have to watch both.
Yeah, exactly.
To know what's going. Oh yeah, it's great. Yeah, so we're bringing him in. Well, they started it because Fuad had me finally come on over there. So,
yeah. You have a good time over there, eh?
I did. It was fun. It was. It's just like us. You're like, oh fuck, that was being recorded. I thought we were just all chatting. I probably shouldn't have said that thing about that thing.
Right. Yeah. Well, Scott's got a lot of editing to do today.
He's got some work to do. Sorry,
Scott. We'll
let
the crowd know that Scott has a lot of work for this particular episode. So you are seeing a very refined, very corporate approved version of the show.
Yeah, so when you see how bad it is, just multiply it by 10, and I don't know. There was a smudge on my truck this morning, and that was the end of it. I was fucking angry. I guess.
Dusty, wrong side of the bed today, man. It's like when you go to meet up with a friend, you go over to meet a friend, you're like, hey, how's it going? And they're like, fucking Dave, did you fucking see what Dave did? You're like, I wasn't really paying attention. And you don't know what to do, and you don't know what to say.
Sorry, Ron. I definitely fucking Daved you today.
No, I was kind of aware, but I'm like super curious, and I actually, if anything, I feel like I let the people down for not having an equally, excited opinion of everything.
Especially since Ian's Canadian. I mean, damn it, you did this for your country.
Oh, anyway, I was sort of aware of that, and like I gave my opinion on that. That was lame. Yes. But I just didn't really realize where it went or what was going on.
You know me. I like the soap opera shit. I'm keeping it.
Yeah, no, I know. That's you're my that friend.
Yes, in the know. And
sometimes,
if not, I don't let the truth get in the way of a good story either. If I got to fucking twist a little bit,
it's getting boring. I'll go. You know what? I gotta talk to Dusty because he always complicates my life.
It's painful how accurate that is. Shit.
Okay.
All right, well, let's remind everyone what they need to do to save us a little bit here.
One more thing. I have to say that I saw the funniest sight I've ever seen this week. Right after the Cali Pro, Chris FaceTimed me, and he still had his mask under his chin.
Oh, God.
And he was like, blah, 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 blah. He's talking, and he had his face mask on under his chin. I just thought it was I took a screenshot. I thought it was the funniest fucking thing. Anyways, with the hair,
Oh, the hair is always part of it.
Okay, so remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Help us out. It's been going great. We really appreciate everything. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate all the questions. And, anything else, Dusty? Dogs are home.
Man. Yeah, we got 4 more weeks minimum.
Oh, so they're okay.
Oh yeah, they don't come back.
Okay.
No, I'm over here lonely. So if anyone wants to help with that, I'm kidding. But I will watch your dog.
So cooking with Dusty with special guests.
Exactly, it's time.
Okay, enjoy yourself, my friend.
No doubt. Till next time.
Just bodybuilding.